My name is Lauren. I'm a director of engineering for Grafana Labs, leading a team responsible for the reliability of our databases for Grafana Cloud customers. However, it wasn't that long ago that I was an engineer that got burned out. In 2018, I decided to quit working in tech for a little while. I was burned out. I just noticed that this is not moving.
They're enterprise seconds.
Excellent. All right. I was burned out. Emotional and physical exhaustion took its toll. I was going through a lot personally. A poor job choice just added to feelings of total inadequacy. So I decided I was going to quit working in tech for a little while, back in 2018. So what does being burned out mean anyway? Burnout is a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by a prolonged amount of stress. Every day was a bad day for me. It became harder, if not impossible, for me to find my joy at work. I felt trapped by the salary I was making and the stability that it provided me. But here's the thing. When you have different life obligations, sometimes it's easy to just fucking quit your job. Woo! I told my spouse, I am tired and over it. He replied, I don't understand why you won't just find another job. Why would you quit something that you're good at? So these are fair questions, right? Tech wasn't just a job for me. It was more than just a check. He knew it. I'll admit, at the time, I didn't really know the answer to his questions. It may have been the first time in my life that I decided purposely to quit something that I was pretty good at. All I knew is that I wanted out. I'd figure out the rest. Before I knew it, I was enrolled in EMT school, and I was fully immersed in a different world. I chose to work as an EMT. Doing EMS exposed me to a different world. It forced me to embrace being uncomfortable in a way that just wasn't quite the same as you might need to do when dealing with a major service outage. So here's some of what I learned. There are times when you have to make life-altering decisions with limited amounts of information, and that's totally fine. Sometimes you'll end up making the wrong call, and that's going to have a dire consequence, and that's also okay. Sometimes jumping into the fire is the best way that you can learn to put it out. Doing something else that was completely unrelated to tech made me realize that I actually missed it after a bit. Bearing these lessons in mind, I chose, after about a year, to go back to working in tech. So I was terrified about not being able to transition back. Outside of the steadier paycheck, I realized that what drew me to tech was a desire to solve problems. At this point, what we now call site reliability engineering was becoming commonplace. So building my skills in EMS taught me that confidence really is everything when it comes to working in production. Having faith in your ability to combat the unknown is the battle that internally takes place when you are dealing with an outage. You accept that in many cases, you might be operating without a net. Stretching my limits by exploring a career change helped me develop a tolerance for working outside of my comfort zone. You can be totally uncomfortable with the situation without being totally afraid. You can accept fear for what a situation is and how you might handle it, and you still act to put the fire out anyway. If you're feeling burned out, exploring a career change might just be what you need to do. It may give you the opportunity to do a bit of a mental reset. You can also pick up new skills along the way, or remember why you even started working in production in the first place. So most of us aren't in a position to just burn our lives to the ground and say, I quit, without a plan. You may have obligations to your family that you need to keep, or you've got bills that you need to get paid. So come up with a roadmap that allows you to gradually make a transition. Managing burnout, even without the added complication of making a career change, is hard if you try to do it alone. Figuring out who your support system is will be, as you navigate the change, is a good idea. Have the difficult conversations, embrace your fear, move forward anyway. Remember that experiencing burnout and making a career change isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that you need to take a break and explore something new. Maybe you'll even come back to tech as I did. Use the lessons that you learned to make your software more reliable.
Paige is going to taught us about what Real Housewives taught her about postmortems. Hello. Where are my Bravo-holics? Raise your hands. Anybody? Okay. There are a few of us in the audience if you're not familiar with Real Housewives. It is a reality show about very wealthy women and the lives that they lead. They have a reunion, which is kind of like our incident retrospective. This happens at the end of every season, and they discuss all of the incidents, which is drama that comes up. And now, postmortems, why even? I do hate this term. It was just catchy and fit in the title. I'll be talking both about the report, the incident report, what happened, but mostly be talking about the incident review meeting. Your company may call it something else. Here's 10 things that Real Housewives has taught me about running better postmortems. The first is bringing your receipts. This is obviously for the incident report. What I want to see is not a screenshot of a dashboard. Dear God, please no screenshots. Give me a link that has the time range pinned so I can go explore that lovely data that you found. This does move so fast up here. Facts and feeling. So great, you have the facts, you have the timelines, people can learn a little bit more about what's going on. The feelings also matter. How you felt during the incident. Did you feel prepared, unprepared? That's a great time to talk about it during the meeting. And facilitation matters. Andy, the host of all of these Bravo reunions, totally sucks at it, has his favorites. He lets people get off the hook. And sometimes fans are very upset about that. So how you conduct the meeting and have structure does have an effect on what you can learn. Something else that I have learned from them is the meeting before the meeting matters. I'm somebody that follows rules, but sometimes you've got to just talk to folks in ad hoc ways and build relationships outside of the meeting so that you can build trust. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but some people do need to hear it. Don't yell at work. Please don't yell at your coworkers. I don't think it's appropriate. Oh, this is a big one. We all have our soapboxes at work, that thing that we're like, oh my God, if everyone could just get on board with this change, it would be awesome. But the postmortem meeting isn't the time to hammer on that soapbox. Sometimes you got to let the mouse go and keep things moving. You will find a time to bring that up, but sooner is better. They film these reunions months after they tape, and actually the women get to see the real live audience reactions to this season, and that kind of feeds into the energy they bring into their retrospective, and that is not very good. We maybe want to have these things a little bit fresher. And finally, blame. This would not be SREcon if we didn't talk about blame, blame-aware, blamelessness, and we're not going to because the slide moved. So. The next one is show up or be silenced. Don't have your voice heard. Karen Huger, yes, was convicted of a DUI, but she has not been sent to prison by the time of that taping, but she missed an opportunity to make her voice heard and instead sent in this like really lame tape. She did not take accountability. Time box it. Reunions are notorious for starting at like 5 a.m. They run all day. The women get very upset. I would be upset if I had a 12-hour workday. So let's make these meetings just long enough. I'm not going to give you a prescriptive time. This slide just says Real Housewives of Reliability just exists in my own mind canon. We obviously do not work for reality TV, and so we need to keep things professional, aka no yelling. This is a recap of the beautiful lessons that we've covered in the minute or so that we've had together, and this is Lisa Vanderpump and RIP to Jiggy, the best dog that has ever been on Bravo. Now, I'm leaving you with some really beautiful resources that have also informed me how to do things the good way. I think Real Housewives has taught me what not to do. All of these things, especially Void Report, 101 SRE, Amy Toby, go check them out.
I have no idea why I'm doing this to myself. Just watching that.
Because you applied.
Yeah. So who's going to shut the... Thanks. So I'm Silotani. I'm co-founder of Uptime Labs. So who wants executives on the incident bridge? At best, they can't be helpful. It's astonishing how with few words they can crush resolver team's confidence by saying, do we have our best people on a call? Or do you have a plan? So unfortunately, table changed for me recently from being an engineer to an executive. And I'm going to tell you a real life story of us not so long ago. So in one day, it was a critical week for us. In 1 hour on Monday morning, life turned upside down. Day started with some alarm going on, and in about an hour time, the whole life was upside down. Nothing was working. Me as an executive was thinking, oh my God, I have 2 critical sales demos in a couple of hour times. Tiny startup, every sales matter. The dollar value is a lot more. Then there's a customer onboarding, and then there is shareholder updates. It just threw me to a state of panic. How I'm going to deal with all of this? The business is falling apart. So the first thing was, I'm going to be decisive. I'll set the deadline for the team, fix the incident by 11 o'clock. But obviously, incidents do not work that way. And then I said, okay, anyway, I've been an engineer. I'm good at it for many years. Let's roll my sleeves up and get in and help. But I realized that I was so far removed from technology, so I couldn't be helpful at all. So what do? Then I felt absolute helplessness. It was like watching your loved one in operation theater from behind the door. No control. You couldn't do anything about it. It was like really crushing feeling, which made me really, really angry. Who deploys a change on Sunday evening before a critical week? Do people not have common sense at all? Who does it? And then I felt, kind of took a breath, say, what can I do? It was like moment of self-doubt, incompetence. I always proud myself, okay, I'm not commercial, but I'm a good engineer. But it turns out that I'm not a good engineer either. Look what happened under my watch. And it was like, thanks to my co-founder, slapped me on the face. Listen, this is really, really bad, but you are not helping at all. Go find some way to be useful. From that moment onward, everything useful that I did was 100% unintuitive to me. In the next 100 seconds, I don't have time to talk about what I did, but you can watch this podcast where we went into in detail about it. What was the next slide? But the key lesson for me was executives, they're human too. They have all the normal organs that we do have. But just responding to incidents is really hard. You don't have control, and you watch your business, your dream, your success falling apart in front of your eyes. It makes you like feel exposed, insecure. That's exactly how I felt. After all, you can't complain to anyone. It's all under your watch. The buck stops with you. And it really does feel like your loved one in operation theater and you can't do anything about it. And I'm not exaggerating, it's really that kind of feeling, even though no one dies in incidents, thankfully. But is any of this exaggeration? No, it's a normal human and animal behavior. It's fight, flight, or freeze behavior. So is there any way for executives to be useful on incidents? Absolutely yes. By creating space, cancel those sales calls, nothing will happen, okay? By nurturing a culture and an organization that looks at incidents as an opportunity, not a disruption to business. And if they can't do the first two things, as my good friend John Onspa said, they can buy a snack for people on call.
Well done, well done. All right. Bring the pain. All right, if you haven't seen Tommy Boy, I apologize, but I apologize for nothing. Come on, it's been like, what, 25 years? All right, let's talk about SLOs, weirdos, right? We all care about this stuff. Who hates it talking about SLAs, though? Right? Imagine you're an SRE, hard for this crowd, all right? And you've got your SLO, your pretty little SLO. You're so good. You're teaching me to have boundaries and when to stop, and I'm just so happy now because I can let go every once in a while, and then, oh no, what happens next, right? Somebody SLA'd it. Oh God, now I have anxiety. We're gonna do credits. Somebody's gonna talk to me about how much this is costing the company. That's not what I'm here for, right? But like, let's have some empathy for our executives who apparently are humans, all right? they're asking, right? Like, this is, who has had this, we need to raise our SLA to 4 nines, okay? Or we need an SLA at all, right? What they're really telling you is, there's no guarantee on this box, and that makes me nervous, all right? And I you know, what do we respond with? Hey, boss, come on, we got like S3 in 5 regions and replication, and no one cares. They do not care. Now, we care. You care, and you should care, right? But that's not the language that they're looking for, okay? They're looking for this language. They want you to say, we'll never go down, but if we do, we'll issue credits. I mean, if you call us at the right time, and we agree that we were down, and you matter at all, right? But they just need something. They don't know what databases do, all right? And let's face it, credits are way cheaper than building expertise. way cheaper, right? They've got a budget for credits. They're like, as long as we only are down for like, I don't know, half a 9 over, under what we actually promised, it's fine. And the company reputation, we got plenty of that to spend, right? So what they want to do, they want to put that high SLA out there, right? Whether you're an internal service or external, they want people to feel warm and toasty and stop bothering them, okay? They want that language out there. And you have to understand that that's what they're looking for. Have some empathy, though, right? We've all been taken in by useful fictions, MTTR. It's just, it's part of our lives. But think about when you're asked to adopt a cloud service, what's your first question? I don't know, what's their SLA, boss? Right? You're there too. You're in the same game, all right? And really, you're going to go to the details, because how do you know they're not just some Rails monolith deployed in a single region, except you know you're a Rails monolith deployed in a single region, and you're being asked to put 4 nines, all right? And next thing you know, like there's an SLA, and now there's customers and money, all right? And the customer's data is compromised, and you can't push code on a Tuesday morning, and you know you've got this guarantee, and all you've really done is push a guaranteed piece of shit. Oh, the timing, all right? We've been there, okay? Like now the SLA's there. Does anybody remember that we were talking about SLOs? Right? But that's what we want to be talking about, right? But now we're talking about credits again, and we're talking about that, and you're talking about, well, hey, boss, if you want to ship a core dump in a box and put an SLA on it, by all means, we can do that, right? But we don't actually have spare time. Right? We're busy, and we're now tasked with 2 things. We have SLA, we're still going to have the SLO, but what we really need to be focusing on is ourselves, because Richard told it best. Richard actually had some wisdom here for Tommy. They're buying you. They're buying your service. They're not buying your SLA. That's just a fiction that we're telling to get them to listen to us. All right? We need to focus on our own expertise. So whatever happens with your SLAs, I know you're not going to be able to say no to that. Please keep working on your SLOs, keep building your expertise, spending your error budgets, and demand that they be there. All right, otherwise you're just going to be shipping guaranteed pieces of shit. Thank you.
Incident is a nightmare. Incident is chaos. Incident is awful. I have handled many such incidents, but one from 2 years ago still deeply resonates within me. 2023, Retail Friday. I am the commander-in-chief for protecting the site. My pager rings with a massive number of failed customer interactions. I quickly transitioned myself into an incident commander and declared a major incident. When we quickly reviewed our system signals, our payment volume is plummeting, our massive FCIs creating retries, which in turn causing systemic saturation. We are into 5 minutes of the incident. An external outage has been identified, which means our mitigation options are slim, or we are heavily relied on the outage itself. In the midst, we are trying to figure out what our mitigation options are. In the midst, we have our execs coming in, requesting for an immediate containment plan. On the other hand, media inquiries coming in. So team is still figuring out what our response options are. We are 10 minutes into the incident. We quickly identified a remote config update, which can safely roll out under 5 minutes to contain the customer impact. The ETA is 5 minutes. 20 minutes into the incident, my SME responsible for mitigation notified me, we have a problem. There is an incorrect config is being rolled out. There is dead silence in the room. I could clearly hear a pounding heartbeats of my engineers who's working inside a command center. That silence means we are into another chaos. My immediate response, don't touch the rollout. Further extended, nobody touches production for any reason. And also notified my tactical team, stop the job. Further instructed, roll out a new config. Under 30 minutes, we are contained. But deep down inside me, something is puzzling me. My emotional meltdown started. One side, I am concerned of the well-being of my SME, who rolled out an incorrect config. On the other side, self-doubt. Did I let my site down? Did I cause the second chaos? In this mist, I'm into tears. I can't perform my roles anymore. I'm no longer a commander. I walked out of the room. In that moment, something struck me like a thunderbolt. I finally understand what caused my emotional meltdown. It wasn't about failing systems. It was about a deep sense of responsibility I have taken on to protect my site and my SMEs from a chaos. Immediately, I knew what to do. I walked over to my boss desk. I was remembering staying on that for a minute or two, biting my tongue. Explained my emotional meltdown, proposed an entry recognition for the SME who rolled out an incorrect rollout, and took 100% accountability for that. That day, not only my boss, entire my command leadership stood by my side, boosted my morale in minutes. That day, our mantra, command fearlessly, has evolved to include lead your teams humanly as well. Thank you. This is Karthik, Technical Duty Officer at PayPal.
Cool. Slide going, start. Cool, I'll get into it anyways. Hey y'all, I'm Will, and I am a huge nerd. I love fantasy novels and running D&D campaigns, and I love talking about incidents, and there's good reason for this, because the core of all of them is well-crafted storytelling. Now, we are lying to ourselves, or at best, telling fiction as part of this, right? Think of all the incident reviews we have where we leave out dashboards and chat messages because it's cost prohibitive to keep them all along in the, talk about in the review. Say, okay, well, that's a live omission, but otherwise, like, we're being straight. No. Absolutely not. Action items we create for ourselves, we're never gonna do. Pretending like MTTR means anything of value and we're actually holding ourselves to them, we are lying to ourselves constantly. Now, this is all to say that events are constructed. We're thinking about what's important to us. What are facilitators doing when they're asking the questions they're focused on? How are responders responding in the review? Highlighting things that maybe make them look a little bit better. So let's talk about stories as part of that. First story, operator is on call, and they are not doing their duty. The site goes down. As part of that, it's later learned that there was problems with the deployment they could have solved, and they didn't. They let it happen, impacted users. Story number 2. It's discussed earlier that there's problems with the deploy, but they're benign, enough to go out. The deploys go out, servers start going down, except the ones that are broken. The operator is facilitating the incident and allowing things to come back up and handling that issue. Now, this is all to say that obviously these are the same series of events told from different perspectives, which goes to say, what are our stories telling? What are they saying for us, right? How are we framing them? They mean something. Now, all great societies are built on stories, and it applies to our organizations as well. How are we focusing our organizations such that we are allowed to continue to flourish? And along with those lines, we need to think about what does it mean for us to succeed? What are our goals? Now, general ones are obvious. We need to keep the site up. Cool. What happens when it means trade-offs? What does uptime look like? What are we willing to sacrifice? Then it gets a little blurry around the edges there. So for anyone who's not a D&D nerd, nat ones are bad. It's a critical failure. But those are the ones we think about, right? We don't think about our successes. We don't think about all the things that went right. We focus on the things that went wrong, you know, gnawing running our clothes and thinking, if only I could have gone back in time and done something. But it's important we focus on this because those are the things that are the narrative hooks that make us wish, yes, we could have done things wrong, but how are we approaching the future? How can we change things so that we can improve it moving forward? Now, you're gonna be tempted to go into an incident review and just state a list of facts and assume insights will surface from that. That's not what we do. We ask questions. We're looking to gain insights from those questions. You're always going to be behind your teams. Collectively, they're going to be smarter than you. Good luck keeping up. So your job is to then ask the questions that are going to matter. How are you getting that expertise and spreading it around your team? So comes snow after the fire, and even dragons have their endings. Sometimes dragons that we create ourselves. And this is what we're looking for, right? The hope at the end of the incident. How are we getting out of it? How are we getting that success from that failure? What brought us from the failure mode to the success? And we're crafting these stories ourselves. about ourselves, our teams, our organizations. And we need to think about that moving forward. What is the story we're going to tell? So here's my story. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to do good. And so are you. And no one gets to vote on that. I want every single person in this room to succeed. And that story says, what's the question that gets us there? Thank you.
So now we're going to tell stories about an incident of a slightly different color. So we'll see how it plays out. Honestly, my jokes are for me. Who cares about the rest of you? This is plutonium-238. It's an isotope of a man-made element. It's used in nuclear weapons research, it's used for medical care, and it's apparently what AWS builds the managed NAT gateways out of because at $4 million a pound, it's the only thing that explains how expensive they are. This is the AWS billing console. The people who flinch know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the complete wrong answer when your spouse asks you to take them somewhere expensive. Learn from my mistake. You're technically correct, but it will not save you. Recently, they unrolled a new feature, that's right, dark mode. Why does it need dark mode? Well, so it doesn't blind you in the middle of the night when you're looking at it. Why are you looking at the bill in the middle of the night at 3 in the morning? Oh no, you already know. That's terrible, and here we are. This is not a shitpost. This is how much it costs to move data within AWS. This simplifies down to nobody freaking knows. How long is a piece of string? Great. We figured this out the fun way by running a crap ton of different experiments and documenting the results because sometimes the documentation was creatively ambiguous. If you've worked with AWS, you know exactly what I mean when I say the words creatively ambiguous. I was going to bring stickers for these, but unfortunately we are out and having a new version fixing a small bug. I'll let you know if you can find it. This recently discontinued AWS Snow Cone winds up having a bunch of storage on it. You can use the e-ink screen to read on it. It weighs about 5 pounds, which means that when you rip the cord out the back, it dies in half a second, making it the shittiest Amazon Kindle e-reader they've ever made. But it does give rise to an amazing new pricing dimension. People at AWS said the gigabyte pound month was ridiculous. I said, but the load balancer capacity units have 6 dimensions, and suddenly they had no further questions and wanted to leave the room as fast as possible. This is Schrodinger's cat, the famous experiment, 50% chance of the cat dying in the box. You open the box, but before that, the cat is both alive and dead. Quantum waveform collapses, and boom, you observe the cat. What happens then? That's right, CloudWatch charges you $750 for daring to observe something, then Date a Dog or Grafana Labs or any other animal-related observability tool is going to go ahead and charge you more, and also, once again, hit the Amazon CloudWatch bill with the money stick, because they're hitting you with the money stick. This is an actual command line. Jesus Christ, don't run it, but it will work. If you're not familiar with AWS isms, that winds up committing to spend $1 million an hour, which is the API limit, on a savings plan for the next 3 years paid in advance. That works out to a hair over $26 billion, which is just over a hair under AWS's last quarterly posted revenue. What happens when you run that? I'm gonna need to borrow someone's account to prove it for sure, but I think your phone rings and you get a really important question from the CEO of Amazon. Not really a question so much as a foreboding, threatening statement, but honestly, who can blame him? Yeah, it turns out that that's not someone you want knowing your name or, frankly, being on their speed dial list. Please don't ask how I know the answer to that. But we will always have the AWS bill in its full dark mode glory. It will still be confusing, but if we whine at them long enough, probably 10 years or so, maybe they'll come up with a user-friendly version of whatever the hell dark mode is for not actually fixing a painful problem. I'm Corey Quinn. I shitpost for a living, in case that was surprisingly unclear to some of you. I live in the muck that is the AWS bill, and I say this from all painful experience because, hey, coming here is cheaper than actually going to therapy. Thank you for listening.